Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. I'm Colin Smith. Well, I get this question enough that I've created a tutorial for it. This is how I record my screen. So the program I use to record my screen is TechSmith Camtasia, and you can get it for both Mac and Windows. And if we go and look at their site, there's a trial version that you can download. And this is very feature rich. There's lots of resources here, but they also have something called Snagit that is cheaper, and it also does screen capture and recording. So Snagit might be something that you're more interested in, but both will record the screen. Now, for earlier versions on my show, I was using an HD laptop screen and I was recording HD. But for the last several years, I've been using Dell computers with Ultra HD, basically 4K screens. And I do record 4K, even though I only export out HD. And I do that because of the screen clarity. When I zoom in, I'm able to zoom in 300% without seeing jagged edges. So I'm running it right now, and it's kind of funny. I'm using Camtasia to record Camtasia. And when you start Camtasia, I'll just show you up here. I create a new project and you hit the record. So this is recording right now, and you can see it's recording my voice. Normally this has a button down here and it counts down. And I record my laptop voice, although I've got a boom mic up here connected to my C100, Canon C100. This is my main audio. I don't use the audio of my voice. I am able to capture the system audio into Camtasia. So if I am playing something back, I'll put earbuds in and record it that way. But I am using the microphone here, and I'll use that to help synchronize this. And I've got a tutorial on how to synchronize stuff in the timeline. It's only 2 tracks. You can just shift them along while you're listening. It's very easy to do. So I will record the screen, the system audio, and my voice at the same time. So I've already recorded a tutorial, and now I'm opening it up and I'm showing you what you get. So it gives you the screen recording in the bin, which is one thing, and then this is the project. So this is very much like Premiere Pro, where you have a video clip and then you have a project and you bring that in. So this recording can be brought into any project and reused, but by default, once you finish, you hit stop recording, Camtasia will create a new project and bring in your media into the media bin. And it's down here on the timeline. So what I look for are areas where I need to zoom in to highlight something. And I'm very adamant about this. Some people think that you should highlight everything, every mouse movement of every single thing. That's nuts. If everything is highlighted, then nothing is highlighted. From a training perspective, you want to only point something out when it's important enough or that someone could miss it. So a time when you want to call something out. So you have to discern between when to zoom in and when not to zoom in. If you do it too much, it's just going to be damn confusing. I do have to make a conscious effort to hold my menus down a little bit longer to be able to zoom in. So while I'm actually doing the tutorial, as if I don't already have enough to think about, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, hold the mouse, hold that, slow down on those parts. So let's go to where I'm about. All this part here, everything in this part of the tutorial doesn't require any zooming. It's all full screen. But now I'm going to get a menu coming down right there. So now I am going to zoom in. And there are 2 keyboard shortcuts. The A key takes me to animations here, and the N key for annotation. So I'm hitting A or N to go between annotations and animations. So right now we're at 100% zoom. My project is 55% because it is actually, if we go in here and look at the project settings, they're custom and they're 3840, 2160. By default, when you, even though I am recording the full screen, which is 4K, by default, Camtasia makes an HD project which is not what you want if you record it in 4K. So I went in and changed that to a 4K screen. In the preferences, you can tell Camtasia the default size is 4K. All right, so what I like to do is to work in round numbers. So I'll type 200 here, enter, and then I'll zoom in. This is the area I'm going to zoom in. I just think it makes things crisper and clearer if the numbers are even numbers. 200, 300, 150, 125 instead of 173. And that's because the math for dividing the pixels up, I just think it's better to stay with those even numbers. The other thing that you can accidentally do is you can easily move beyond the top. So you see that dark area here, that's not a good idea. So it snaps actually to the end. Now what I'll do in this point is I'll try to find the zoom because I'm going to show something on a menu, but sometimes the menu thing I want to show is a little bit further down. So I have to make sure, oh yeah, it is up at the top. It's there, view outline. And actually for this, because I am so close, I am going to go to 300%. And I make sure that when I go back to this, I click on that little ball in the end. That's kind of like a keyframe in Premiere Pro. If you're off by a little bit, then you will create two animations, the old one at 200 and the new one at 300. So, and look at how clear that is. That's absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm right up to the top because I'm going to choose the outline view. So I move back a little bit. Oh, maybe that's a little bit too much. And I want to audition what this is going to look like. So I move back a bit. Outline. So you can see, so now this is the kind of dilemma that I'm actually showing that menu, but I need to show the results of that menu change with what's happening. Because right now that looks a little bit confusing. I zoom in and I show preview and then outline. So I'm not going to do 300%. I'll go back to 150. Hit the N key, and these are all the different callouts that you've got. Arrows, you've got text, and these boxes are really, really smart. As you type the text, the box gets bigger, so these little speech bubbles get bigger. There's basic shapes, and if you go to all, you'll see a whole bunch of shapes in there. Same thing here. There's blurs and highlights, but I just go to these two right here, ellipse and a rectangle. You can either double click or drag it into the screen. So I'm going to drag it over top of the outline area in here and resize it. You'll notice it was added down here and it happens in the next few keyframes. So I'll hit play. And let me go back and audition that. Okay, so this is typical of the kind of thing that I need to do to tweak this. So now I should be, right now I should be seeing this. So I'll bring this over and now animate that. So I just needed it a little bit earlier. And you see what I did? I messed up the starting point of this. There we go. Preview, outline. And once the menu goes away, I like to also make the highlight go away. So I'll trim the tail of that one and zoom out and find the next one. And at this point, I'll zoom back out. So this is a critical one. Scale to fit goes back to full screen 100%. If you're going to some arbitrary amount, you might be missing some of the user interface. So I'm always making sure in my mind that I'm not confusing users. If I zoom out full screen, then now they're looking at what would be similar to their screen. So that's the second zoom. What does happen though, see if it happens here. Okay, it doesn't. What happens though, and you might see this in some of my tutorials, and it makes me very mad that I miss it, is that when I zoom out, the highlight stayed in that place. So it's floating around. And I think what Camtasia wants you to do is to select the highlight and select everything and then do your zooms so that when your screen zooms, the highlight moves out of the way. To me, that's just way too much to balance because those highlights are tiny and the animation is actually inside the actual highlight. It's very hard to see. So I don't like doing that. All right, so I'll just keep going and again find, okay, so here I'm doing a lot of zooming in with the actual program, so I don't need to zoom in a lot on this one. What did I just do there? Oh yeah, I just showed the type. And now any area here that I'm yakking, I don't cut this here. I do the zooms and the highlights, and then I export out the full size. And when I bring it into Premiere Pro, that's when I'll cut it up with my, my talking head over top. So now I'm going to need another highlight here. We're going to okay, so now I need to zoom in to, I believe, document info. So let me see if 200% is too much. It isn't. Hit the N key, drag this on, document info. So this should be a little bit easier. So now I'll go back and audition this. Go back, zoom in. There's document info. Oh, I'm getting everything wrong. Attributes. So let me click on the ball, go back there, select this highlight and drag it up to attributes. Now I'll audition this. Attributes, there we go. And you see how it hangs on the screen a little bit? That bothers me. So I'm going to find where the menu disappears and I'll trim the tail. And if you look over on the right-hand side in the properties, you can change things like the scale, the rotation, the position. There's a little drop shadow on here and what the color is so that you can make it whatever color you want. The thickness of that, how thick it is. And for a while there, I was specifically changing it to a specific thickness because it bothered me that with the 4K screen, that seemed a little bit thin. And then I got to a point where I didn't care anymore because it was too much work to add an annotation and change it every single time. And no, there's no presets in here. That's one thing that I wish Camtasia had, the ability to take these annotations and set them as always 5 pixels, and they're always 5 pixels, or maybe change the color or whatever. But I can't do that. Okay, so I'll just keep doing that. Oh, I got to zoom out here. So A, scale to fit. So now I go back and zoom out and do more. Oh, actually, I should probably not zoom out. I should go over to there. So let me delete that. And instead, I'll go to 300% over to document info. And does everything get in here? Yes, it does. So once I'm done, I'll share this. And you can share directly from Camtasia to Vimeo, YouTube, right out to Google Drive. But I make a local file. And I'll choose MP4 only up to 1080p. So it does the scaling for me. Click Next. And I don't want it to organize into subfolders. And I'll export, save, finish. And now it's going to render that out. So the final result is an H.264. That's HD, but it came from a 4K recording. And as I showed you, that zooming in, which you see in my tutorials all the time, it looks really, really good. So I love the zooming and highlights in Camtasia. I think that would be way more work to do in Premiere Pro. That's why I stay inside Camtasia and then just bring that into Premiere Pro and intercut it with my head. And I'll also have a link to the extract command. So if there are dead spaces in what I'm talking about, because I'll have my talking head and I'll have the screen recording and I'll hit an in and out point and I'll chop that out, chop that out, chop that out, and tighten up the whole show. So it looks a little bit better on the way out. So there you go. Camtasia, or you can try Snagit. If you're a Mac user, you might be using Camtasia already, or you might be a ScreenFlow person. Back in the day when I was a Mac person, I did use ScreenFlow, but I think the quality here looks fantastic. All right. Hey, if you're new to Video Revealed and you found this informative, take a moment to subscribe. You want to support us some more? Then go to the Video Revealed store. You can get there by going to VideoRevealed.com/shop. Link is in the description. Till next time, I'm Colin Smith, and it's my job to show you some behind-the-scenes stuff of how I make my show.